Whew. And we in, man. We in. Reminisce show.
La 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 la. Woo! Excuse me.
Reminisce.
We reminiscing.
Man, we got to, man. We got to, man. Today's a very special day, man. Lots of new energy vibes and total reminiscing, man. Total Sankofa vibes going on. We got lots to discuss, man. But before we get into it, man, today's Peter Tosh's birthday. Mr. Legalization himself. Oh man, there's just so much to discuss, man. But before we get into that, man, we're gonna do our check-in. You know what I mean? See how you're doing, man. Because I know you're going through some transitions right now.
Yo, man, I'm majorly transitioning, and I don't usually do this too much, but boom, this is my empty ass crib as I move to my new place. You normally don't see, or you normally see, there was a big bookshelf right there and all this stuff, but I am officially moving on up to the east side.
It's happening, man. It's happening.
And finally get a piece of the pie. And I'm going to be in my biggest apartment I've ever lived in solo. I got more sunlight in my place. I got plans to have a recording studio and even a dance place. And I got a place to put my keyboard because I'm taking piano lessons. I don't want to say too much, but
come on.
New chapter time. Big time.
Wow. Well, congratulations on the new energy, new movements that's happening, man. I know it's a full moon and they're saying that Mercury retrograde is done. So I think this is like it's very timely for you to be moving into this space and soaking in all that new energy, man. So big up to you on that, man. I know it's not easy, man, but you're going to make it happen, make it work.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, man. I'm just it's a lot of work, but it's great. It's great. It's good to transition.
It's all for the cause, man. It's all for the cause.
Yo, how about you?
Yeah, man. Yo, I'm doing well, man. I just feel like I'm in this like really like creative space and looking at new possibilities, and just like what I mentioned before is like when it comes to like our culture, Black culture in general, African culture, it's like like from a cultural standpoint, there's always been obstacles. Like just existing isn't good enough. Like there's always has to be, you got to do better than everybody. You got to put in the extra effort because that's just the way how like this society is set up. And it just reminded me that like whenever there's obstacles, there's always something amazing that gets created out of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so Peter Tosh, simple example, someone who's been like advocating for the legalization of cannabis for forever in the music, not just from like a recreational standpoint, but more for the medicinal and spiritual properties of this plant. And there was a lot of barricades and barriers, but like when I listen to his music as a simple example, it's like really powerful. That resistance created a whole movement. And that movement now more than ever is like relevant. We can look at hip hop culture. Hip hop was born out of rejection. It was like we didn't have anything to really like build on, and then that was created. So I'm always reminded that it's like fortunately but unfortunately, like the struggle is part of our culture, but in the midst of that, we've always been able to like transcend and create something new. And then that becomes the new center of attraction, So I just been like really meditating from that perspective and just being like, like we're used to this. I mean, this is what happens, but it doesn't stop the movement, man. We're going to keep going. And, whatever we create, the world is going to respond to, you know what I mean? So that's what's up.
You nailed it, man. I think one of my favorite, it's hardcore, but it was a very revolutionary statement and peace to Kamau. In the real sense of the word revolutionary. But I think they were saying around whether it was Malcolm or Martin, when one of those two brothers was murdered, the people around them was like, yo, we are going to bury the man and carry the plan. And they're like, yo, I was like, yo, that is real. That's just like, we're going to take the dreams and visions that we have in our people's heads and the struggles, and we just going to, the ones that are surviving, we're just going to continue down the road and just, we didn't meet Martin at the mountaintop, but he was already up there, and all the people who haven't made it there yet, they're just going to follow the path up there. Like, so, I love how you say that though. Like we take oppression and struggle and flip it into art and business and science and culture. So that's mad real. And yo, like I gotta throw in this. I don't even talk about it too much, man. But
Yo,
like
what's up?
my mom is like kind of OG in Jamaica. Like she like
All right,
like she's crossed paths with a few
all right.
like my family. We've got some. My aunt was the actual ambassador for the entire island of Jamaica to America, to Venezuela. My aunt was the ambassador for 5 different countries for all of Jamaica. So like
Wow.
she's
Okay.
retired. She's retired now, but for like 15, 20 years, like before, like my aunt was repping Jamaica for the world. So like my family sometimes surprises me with some of the ill jewels they drop. Brethren,
Okay.
check this out. My mom, it was like 10 years ago. My mom was like talking about, we lived in Edmonton, and my mom was one of the few Rastas in Edmonton in the early 80s. There wasn't many Rastas out there. So
Talk to me.
my mom was part of the Rasta community in Edmonton. And then we were just hanging out. And one day out of the blue, she just brings up, she's like, yeah, that kind of reminds me of the time that I brought Peter Tosh out to Edmonton to play. And I was like, what, mom? What did you just say to me? What did you say to me? She's like, yeah, like, you know, it was like 1982, 83, and like I had some connections to Peter Tosh, and like, yeah, we did a reggae concert, and she's just saying this off the cuff, like, just man, this is a thing we did. I'm like, yeah, Peter Tosh, yeah, he played in Rundle Park. Like, she's just naming the spot, and like she's like, yeah, we had a gathering of dreads, and it was like, yeah, we just did a little concert, and I was like, Mom, what the fuck, yo, that's bomb. So yeah, my mom did a kind of little small reggae festival in Edmonton in the early 80s, and apparently Peter Tosh was there, but I was only like 4 or 5 years old, so even if I was there, I didn't remember it. But yeah,
but yo, I mean, well, that's a blessing, man. Like I love that. That's a great like segue, man, into like just giving space for the brother, man, Peter Tosh, man. Today is his Earth Strong. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I just think about all the movements, all the things that he's fought for. We're now seeing the fruits of those labors, and I always just envision like what he would say like today. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like he still wouldn't be calm about it. He'd be like, good, it's about time, but there's still more work to do.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's exactly what he would say. Yo, yeah, that's exactly it.
Like it's like nice to like to celebrate, that's cool, but yo, let's not like forget about like the spiritual essence and like the medicinal purposes of these things, you know. I'm gonna play this short clip of Peter Tosh being interviewed in Toronto.
What?
And it's interesting, like he's talking about being a bush doctor and using all these like natural like herbs and medicines for healing. And at that time, there was also some type of like virus going on in Toronto, and he kind of speaks on that. And I just thought it was just really, I don't know, just interesting, timely. You know what I mean? And this interview is from like 1979. I got to shout out like Rogers TV. You know, like Canadian. Yeah. I was just reflecting to myself, like Canadian journalism, especially back in the day. Today, I mean, you know, it is what it is, but back in the day, like especially when they're interviewing like reggae artists and just like artists who, you know, brought like a whole different kind of vibe. Like they interviewed them in a way that was done with like integrity. They didn't cut them off. They didn't chop up the interview. They just let them speak. Like there was no.
Yeah, you're like, we're kind of curious about this. Tell us about it.
Yeah, there's no like hidden agenda, no propaganda, no trying to like pigeonhole them into a thing. It's just like, so tell me about this mystic man. You know, tell me about reggae culture. Like, why is this herb important? Like, just, you know, like really inquisitive, curious questions. So I got to big up like Rogers TV for this, but let's just give a little bit of shine to Peter Tosh, man. And then I'm going to talk about something else that I seen, man, online, because there's a lot of incredible things that's going on. So here we go.
I'm gonna light this birthday candle for Peter. We don't usually smoke on the show, but this special
light one up for me, man.
Cannabis edition, yes. Yo, this is actually the stuff that you grew. So
that's it, man. Medicinal, man. That's what's up. Yo, check this out.
All right. Doctor is an ancient traditional way of living, and differently from the mechanical form of doctorism in the West, and which is destructive to humanity, which they are still researching to find cures for many things. There is also a new epidemic called the Legionnaires, which is now breaking out in Toronto. And as far as I see, they don't know where it comes from, what creates it, or know the solution to the pollution. See? And
Yeah.
all those things. There is no disease that is incurable. See? And I've been researching on bushes for a good long time, and I have found many bushes to be proven, 100% beneficial in curing many destructive diseases. You know,
So the bush doctor who's from the old tradition
see,
is also a mystic man with a message.
true. Because to make bush medicine, you have to be mystic. See, because it takes spiritual ingredients. It's not just getting the bush and putting them together. The mind have to be in the medicine,
Yes.
see, for it to work.
What part does one of the favorite bushes, the herb, play in all of this?
The herb. Well, the herb is like you live in Babylon, you see everyone smokes cigarette. 9 out of 10 people smoke cigarette. And although 9 out of 10 people smoke cigarette, it is destructive to the human body. Herb. Because herb was created scientifically, spiritually for the use of man by the creator. See? Then the devil came and said, it is you and I, and he invented cigarette. So we can have the people on this death trip.
Yeah, cancer.
See?
Talking about the recent albums, Bush
Right.
and Mystic Man.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yo,
that's a
yo.
liquor vibe, man. Like the way how he speaks, the way, like back then I was pretty revolutionary, but nowadays it's like, yo, that's that's where we at right now. There's some
That's
understanding to that.
Yeah, that's just logical. But that he was saying that in like 1982, 84.
Yeah.
Like,
This clip in particular is from 1979 in Toronto.
oh, 79. Geez.
Yeah. So he's familiar, like he's been in Canada a couple times, and I just love the way how the reporter handled it, man. Like, all y'all journalists out there, man, take some notes because that's how it's done. No interruptions, no propaganda, just real truth.
No, like devil's advocate, like, well, these other people say blah 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 blah. Like, yo, no, man, let the man speak. He's a grown man. He's speaking from his heart. He's speaking his religion, his truth, his health, his culture. Like, let the man speak.
That's it, man. So like earlier today, man, I was just bumping some Peter Tosh and listening to his speeches, and I came across like their YouTube channel, man. If you go on YouTube and just type in Peter Tosh, like his official channel, they had like a live like streaming earlier this afternoon, and I was like bumping it. It was ran by the Peter Tosh Foundation, which I just learned about, and it's actually ran by his children. Like the president and like the people who are running it, are his son and daughter and a few other individuals, and they're doing a lot of incredible stuff like youth programs, like carry on his legacy, doing a lot of like advocacy for cannabis and the medical properties of it. Basically, carry on his tradition that he's been advocating for, and I just thought that was really dope. I Stolen from Africa. I know that I'm going to find a way to connect with them. I have to. Like the music, the message, everything is just like super powerful, and I feel like when it comes to like the Rasta movement should be like a lead in this department, and they're not. You know what I'm saying? Like nowadays, it's really
Say that.
It's kind of frustrating, because like me, I'm very fond of the cannabis plant. I personally, haven't smoked in a good like 6.5 months. But I do appreciate everything about the plant, and there's so many benefits to it. Especially when it's enjoyed responsibly by adults. I do not advocate or condone any minors. If it was up to me, I would suggest people under the age of 25, like wait till you get till you're 25 over.
Your brain
develops. Yeah. That's just my personal. I got to say that. You know what I mean? Because
you
got to be mindful and balanced and whatnot. But yeah, like when I look at just like the criminalization, like those who are still incarcerated right now, people who have been advocating for years, I mean, just treated like garbage. Like nowadays you have like, like soccer moms making like protein cannabis shakes and all different kinds of stuff that are happening, which is like, like suitable in today's time. It's like everybody and their grandmother is like cooking and doing edibles and all these different kinds of things though. But when it comes to like Black culture in particular, like cannabis has always been around. you know, and it's been part of like the healing to deal with oppression. You know what I mean? Like some people use it as a form of escapism, but I feel like for us, especially in the context of music, there's spiritual properties, just like what Peter Tosh like articulated. Like the medicinal purposes also connects with like the mental, spiritual side too. It's the combination of the two. A lot of people don't really understand that. They're disconnected from that aspect. So
100%.
I feel like there's like a lot of work that we can build on and connect with. And you know, like I feel like we're just getting started. But when I think of like the Rasta community in particular, you know, and then when I think about the industry in Jamaica, you know, there's a lot of like foreign investment. People are like looking at Jamaica with googly eyes and being some like, yo, dollars for Mick. But
Yeah,
we have to, you know, really protect, you know, like the Sankofa. This is where Sankofa comes into play. And listening to Peter Tosh is like, what would Peter Tosh do? What would he desire? What would Bob Marley desire?
word.
A lot of these people get involved in cannabis and travel to the Caribbean because of these artists, you know, on a recreational level. But there was always a political ingredient to everything that they've done. And that's something that cannot be lost, man. And that's why we speak on Sankofa so deeply and profoundly.
You nailed it. I co-sign everything you say, absolutely. And first and foremost, what there has to be before, I mean, it should happen on a 420. It should happen. It doesn't matter when the fuck it happens. But the first thing that happens when cannabis was legalized is the very first thing should have been the jails open for all non-violent offenders who are in jail for cannabis, period. Right. Whether you're in for 6 months or 6 years or whatever you're in for. If you're in for selling weed, smoking weed, anything, and you didn't have any gun charges, you didn't mix it up with other stuff, yo, let them people out. 100%, no question. And my family's Rasta, my mom's Rasta still. I spent 10 years with dreadlocks. I grew up, I had stepfathers who are dread. My aunt is, my fucking aunt is the one who runs Rastafest, Canada's biggest.
That's your aunt?
That's my aunt. That's my aunt. My son is my aunt. Blood aunt. My mom's little sister runs Rastafest. Rastafest is 27 years running now. 26 years. That's my aunt.
All the time, man. I don't even.
Yo, that's my aunt. Yo, me, all of us family. Yo, when we were kids, we had to screen press Rastafest T-shirts when it was Rastafest years 1, 2, and 3 when it was small. So I've been doing Rasta culture from time in my whole family. And when I was young, I was seeing Rastas responsibly use marijuana as a healing herb and as a, you know, a medicinal ritual and religious ritual. And I'm like, yo, this damn government makes us feel bad all the time for what my family normally does. And I saw this from I was 6 years old in 1985, whatever. I'm just seeing it. I'm like, these people are peaceful, calm, chilling. And like, yo, why is alcohol legal and all alcohol people drink and drive and fight and mash up things and it causes way more damage to the body and cannabis isn't. And I've always thought that it's super hypocritical of every North American Western government to just criminalize cannabis and mostly criminalize people of color, because that's
that's the real bottom line is, like, you know, like when they talk about like the quote unquote war on drugs has always been a war on like, you know, like marginalized poor people, Black people in particular, you know, even just like the word like marijuana, that comes from like, that's a Mexican term where they changed from cannabis to marijuana to racialize it. And so that it was basically used to target, you know, like Black and brown individuals, you know, like Mexicans, like, you know, like the Black jazz players in particular. You know, like what I wish I had the quote like handyman, but it basically says like, you know, I believe it was like Anslinger, like one of the guys from like the FBI in the 1930s. And one of the main reasons why it was because they were threatened by cannabis use amongst like white women in particular, and how they were, you know, saying that they were smoking weed and then, you know, going to these jazz bars and whatnot and hanging out with Black folks.
There was
or whatever. But like, and that was the main threat. You know, so they had to like target us essentially, and you know, and that's really like the idea of the criminalization of cannabis. It has nothing to do with whatever they try to promote with reefer madness and all of that, you know, because that has been proven over and over.
It's not actually damaging to society on the levels of heroin and cocaine, not at all. Right. And there's so many levels to it as far as the criminalization. I mean, I wanted to add when you were saying, like, they used to call joints jazz cigarettes. Like, jazz cigarettes. Like, yo, you got one of those jazz cigarettes. It's like, yo, that's how cannabis, weed, like marijuana has been called from time. So it's been in the culture with musicians and the lifestyle. But also another thing is it got criminalized because they didn't want hemp. Like the actually beyond just smoking it, they didn't want. In the 30s, it was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and there was just like heavy oil, heavy steel, heavy plastics, like physical pharmaceuticals. So when they found out, yo, you can use cannabis hemp for clothing, you can use cannabis oil for all this stuff, they're like, nah, fuck that shit. That shit is illegal. So on multiple levels, on a social level, on an economic level, like and like you're like, no, wait, we're not letting this thing like cut into the oil market, cut into the like cotton market. Like hell no, we're using old school cotton from slavery. We're not letting these black people use hemp and like kill that industry. So
that's so deep, and plus like it's very like easy to grow. You know what I mean? Like it's and I heard that hemp is like even easier, you know, you just it just needs this sunlight and some water and it just does its thing really. Like, you know, they're very like resilient plants, you know, and it's just so interesting. But I'm just happy to see that we're moving in a place where we're looking at more alternative, sustainable ways of moving forward, being more connected with the earth, with the land. You know, now that things are illegal, like people are like, you know, kind of growing their own, and I think that's a great introduction into just agriculture. You know, like me, like, you know, just you know, from growing, you know, like a couple plants and just really nurturing that and being part of the process. Like now I'm interested in other forms of gardening, you know, and really just connecting back and living off the land, you know, which I think is like a really big opportunity, you know. So it's really incredible, yo.
You nailed it. And what you said, it goes into what Peter said, which I totally agree with. When Peter said there's no disease that can't be healed. Right. So the medical industry is like, yo, man, people can just grow this plant and like use cannabis instead of like aspirin and all these other pills and all the things that we get people hooked to for this vicious cycle of not actually healing things, but just numbing them and medicating people and just hell no. So like they really want us to not know the power of these plants and just getting back to earth and getting in touch with nature and just being healthier.
Indeed, man.
Shout out to Colleen and Righteous. My mad love. Thanks, Colleen. I see you supporting us. But yo, you know what? I have a little something. I was gonna play this. Like it's like it's a little ridiculous, but it's just I was gonna play this like 3 or 4 months ago, and we never got around to playing this. So like I'm just.
Well, just in the meantime, just let y'all know I put like the SFA Peter Tosh playlist. It's on Spotify right there. If you're on Spotify, you can just click that link and check that out. And then I have like another playlist that I kind of curated of some you know, cannabis inspired theme songs. But we'll play that in a second. But let's see what Mindbender got right now, man.
It's like in the mad love to. Yo, man, shout out to the couple people who've passed away from the movie Friday. Like Debo has passed away. John Witherspoon passed away. And Ezel passed away. Ezel, like the crackhead. Right. There's been a couple people. Ice Cube was like, yo, I really tried to make like the last one, but unfortunately, like, Sony was slacking, and then fucking a bunch of people have died. So like, I'm doing it in the tradition of Friday, in the tradition of How High, in the tradition of all the weed movies out there.
Half baked, you know, half
baked.
That was filmed in Toronto, by the way.
That pizza is finally out of business. The pizza where the horse is. Right? That's the pizza that was right across from Plady Record. But
I got to shout out real quick. There's a scene in Half Baked with Dave Chappelle and it was at Dutch Dreams. Anybody who knows Dutch Dreams ice cream spot over by Vaughan and St. Clair, if you know, you know. This is a very popular ice cream spot. I'm talking like they got lineups when it's cold outside. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that fire, yo. But when they showed that, I was like, yo, yeah. All right, man.
So, yo, this is, and it doesn't, I'm just going to put out there, this doesn't even look good, but it's a weed movie, and we know somebody in it. There's a little T-Dot representation. So,
okay.
This is for all the weed smokers who get high and act dumb.
Would you rather any of the Charlie's Angels or Debbie?
I gotta go with Debbie, man. She's just the right amount of not snotty.
Looks like we might have to spend the night here tonight. I slept like a baby.
You look on us.
Talking door? Hello, door. Why's everybody on the calculator? Yo, I went outside. I saw a dude with his car plugged in. The price of gas is $5 a gallon. What's the date? 2016. That weed we smoked knocked us out for 30 years. Debbie.
Where the hell have you been? You guys want me to believe you bought some super pot from Area 51 on your way to a concert that you never got to because your van fell into a ditch where you slept for 30 years, and here you are.
That is what really happened.
Mm-hmm. My eyes are here, please.
Who is this guy?
His name's Brad.
That's Debbie's kid.
I said I didn't want you to meet my son.
I understand the whole thing about role models. No drugs. You'll be very respectful. Did I tell you how pretty your hair looks with the gray in it? Debbie. Jesus Christ, tootie tattoo.
We really need to work on your compliments.
Hey, if that smokes cigarettes,
We're green. And those are our tombstones.
if you're ghost, how come I can't see through you?
Because I'm
Oh my gosh.
Ripped. He's DJing.
The song just changed. His arms were in the air. Is he DJing with his dick? He's a dick jockey.
All right.
That may be all I ever see of the movie. It doesn't. Shout out to Russell Peters, anyways. Though
sometimes those bad movies are just like funny. Like so, that's what makes them hilarious because they're just so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
But yo, man, shout out to all the advocates, man. Peter Tosh, Bob Marley, Snoop Dogg, man. Like everybody, man, who's been advocating, man, especially for the medicinal aspect. I think sometimes like the recreational stuff can get overlooked, and it's not just about getting high and stoned, whatever, but there are actual medicinal properties and things that should be explored, more natural ways, homeopathic ways and whatnot. So shout out to everybody on that vibe.
Absolutely. Like one thing is I definitely agree with the idea. Shout out to DJ X who anything, too much of anything makes you an addict. I'm just going to quote it like that.
Indeed.
So it's like weed, obviously, in hip hop, there's a lot of people who've taken it very far, and it's good to just use it in a medicinal sense and then learn, master your high, learn your limits and stay within it. And I wanted to give a quick shout out to Wiz Khalifa, because Wiz Khalifa has been like the new generation dude who really has been advocating for healthy cannabis use, and that guy is very much about just pure weed, and he's like no alcohol, no cigarettes, nothing, just
right.
And it's like, oh, okay, cool. But I also want to give a very quick shout out to the cats who realized that they didn't need weed anymore and who've just still stayed in hip hop and just been hip hop but just didn't smoke weed. And one of them is Ghostface Killah, who hasn't smoked weed in 15 years. Royce of 5'9" been sober 9 years. Eminem's been sober 11 years. Shout out to Crooked Eye. He's been sober for a bunch of years. And like just for sure, like I love weed and I love smoking, but there's times not to. And shout out to the people who, did it and then just realized, all right, I don't need it anymore. So
that's exactly where I'm at. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's kind of ironic because, like I appreciate the plant and everything about it, especially, seeing, this plant grow from seed to harvest and whatnot. And, so it's really fascinating, and I'm really interested in seeing like different organizations and people who are really taking it to like the medical level and seeing what that could do for people, especially like from a balance perspective, you know. So I'm really open to the possibility and really just trying to see more of our peoples in this space. You know, it just makes sense, like, because like when I look at all these dispensaries, and it's crazy how when I walk around, dispensaries are everywhere. Like sometimes it's like 4 on one block. It's like that many people are smoking that much weed. Like, really?
No, I don't even think there's that much weed. Oh my God. Like in a few years, half of these places got to shut down because there's way more weed spots than there are LCBOs. I heard something like there's like 1,000 weed stores in Toronto. Insane, and it's way on my block. There was definitely 5 or 6 in a 2-block span. It's ridiculous. But I really wanted to add to your point there because there's only 1% of Black people that are CEOs of all these cannabis companies. Jay-Z and his monogram is one of the only. Jay-Z has the only Black CEO out of all the cannabis companies in North America, and it's a it's multi-billion-dollar industry. It's like definitely hundreds and hundreds of millions. Like we all know, it's massive.
Well,
and there's
one. I'm trying to tap in, man. I'm trying to tap in.
Yeah. So shout out to. You know, everybody should be benefiting, but definitely the hustlers should be benefiting. People who've been doing
it. But then also too, it's like it's not just like the profit just to make profit, but I see it as an opportunity to really rebuild community as well, like bring proper education and awareness and just different things to expand on. You know, like I really feel. I mean, if it was up to me, like I think there just should be a policy of some of these dispensaries. Certain amount is allocated for like inner city development and whatnot. Like I think that just makes sense though. But you know,
that's a brilliant idea.
Well, hey man, like I'm putting that idea out there, and I'm gonna find the peoples, and we want to make something happen. You know what I mean? Because it's the right thing to do.
No doubt.
Word, man.
So there's a little bit of other news going on. Quickly. We got to talk about the verses. We didn't even.
We have to, man.
We
are on this like this Sankofa vibe. I know everybody hears to say Sankofa, and it's all about us going back to collect what we may have forgotten. You know what I mean? And this is the way how we pull it together. And the verses, man. KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane,
Sunday was a day in history. Hip hop history happened. It was fantastic. All the people who saw it, all the people who were there, it was a blessing. So not only did it was really dope because Big Daddy Kane said, "Yeah, I know that all the streets were talking back in the day. It would be cool to see Big Daddy Kane versus Rakim." But Big Daddy Kane goes, "I love Rakim. Rakim is obviously one of the greatest, if not the greatest rapper of all time. Yeah. But Rakim is not a battle rapper. He's like, Rakim is a god, a teacher, a genius, a poet." So Big Daddy Kane was like, I love Rakim, but he's like, to test myself, I said I wanted to go up against KRS-One. And it finally happened. And long story short, I would sum it up. I would say that KRS-One is like a sledgehammer and Big Daddy Kane is like a butcher knife. And KRS-One was much loud. KRS-One was louder and slower and boom, boom, punch
Big Daddy Kane was smooth, man. Smooth operator.
Did y'all hear Big Daddy Kane's word, like his breath control?
Come on. Laser beam.
Laser. Yeah. So, tell me how your experience of it was.
I mean, I was just getting hyped, man, just seeing the vibe, man, because like KRS-One is one of my favorite like MCs of all time, and every time I've seen him perform and speak, he always makes it very clear about like the essence of hip hop. You know what I mean? That is always his like the way how he moves, way how he operates, and there's so many emotions that came to mind. Like the first one I would say is just Sankofa. It reminded me of why I wanted to become an active participant in the culture. Like this type of music and vibration, frequency, if you will, isn't the kind that you just sit there and bob your head. Like you actually want to be like, like it's a call to action. You know what I'm saying?
Get into it. Get involved.
You want to get into it.
Yeah.
You don't even know what you want to do, but you just know you got to be part of it. And just like, like the reminder of like the education piece, like the advocacy, like the self-love, like the empowerment, like recognizing your self-esteem, like, being original, being authentic. Like these are all the ingredients that I feel has like made me the individual that I am today. Because that's the hip hop that I was raised on. You know, it taught me so much that school didn't teach me. You know, like these are all like skills that I've learned. You know, how to use my voice, how to be original, you know, how to be connected to your community and to build and all these different things. So it was powerful. And I started looking at the verses like yo, if hip hop was taught, you know, like at the university level as a lecture, like this is what it looks like, because it can't be something you just like recite from a book and then do a PowerPoint. You really got to show it. You know what I mean? So when they had all the B-boys, man, like Crazy Legs, and then Roxanne and so many people just like came out. It was just incredible, man.
Yeah, yo,
you know,
you're absolutely right. Everything you said is the real. Shout out to those guests. There was Roxanne Shante, Dawes Effects. Oh my God, I
Buckshot.
A Buckshot Shorty came out with. Oh my God,
DJ Red Alert was out there too.
Oh my Lord! When Red Alert was out, people have no idea how powerful that was, and that is real. OG, huh?
And he's looking good too,
he's
man.
Strong, and he's doing all his backup vocals on The Bridge Is Over. That was a moment in history that goosebumps. There's no way to articulate how powerful and important that was. It was so good. These guys, I think Big Daddy Kane is 53 and KRS-One is 56, if I remember correctly. And just have to say again, it's just so good to have these brothers healthy. They're walking, talking, their voices are good. It is phenomenal that they can still recreate their records damn as strongly as they did. 30-year-old records still sound amazing. And KRS-One did something I've been waiting my entire life to see. I can't even, in the song, My Philosophy, KRS-One has a line, nobody said anything like this in the 80s, and this was so powerful to see this literally manifest in reality. KRS-One, he's rhyming in My Philosophy, and I'm not going to have the exact quote, I should remember, but he's like, ruthless, hip-hop isn't even 20 years old. But 50 years down the line, they'll recite a rhyme. And he's like talking, he's like, later on in the culture, I'm going to be the old veteran in my rocking chair listening to the youth. And he's literally, he said that in 1986. And I listened to it and I'm like, yo, he's real. He's like, yo, imagine hip hop and like when people are 50. And like, nobody was really thinking about it back in 86.
No.
KRS-One lived to manifest that line.
Yes.
And he said it, and I was like, oh shit, he said it. I'm like, people aren't even reflecting on how powerful it is. He lived. It's literally like the hip-hop version of the Beatles, like When I'm 64.
Yes.
Like, actually, only 3 of the Beatles lived to be 64. What fucking John Lennon got killed before
right.
like that. So it's like, yo, man, you really
it was just a beautiful moment in hip hop, like a very like teachable lesson, and again, like the Sankofa of really understanding the foundation and the energy that hip hop was created in. You know, like we were talking earlier about like a lot of these verses are very like New York centric, and people were, you know, talking about having other verses from other spaces, which I think is great. And it's good that there's a hype being built up and that can be done. But I also think it really is important to like, you know, focus on New York as like the origin of this culture that we all love so dearly. And there is a lot of people that contributed to that foundation that has been forgotten. So this is just kind of like Sankofa right now. I know that this last session, you know, like was a lot of them were pretty powerful. There's a lot of verses that were powerful, but this one really like sparked something. I feel like it activated something within people and just reminded them about hip hop. Like we remember now. It's like lest we forget, you know what I mean? It's like on those levels, you know.
Yeah,
it's like we forgot, you know what I mean? Now we got to get back to the essence. So I'm hoping that this could be a call to action for some of the new generation, for those who are just listening to hip hop on the radio and listen to like whatever they dish you. There's a whole history, man. We got Ernie Penacoli, man. Like, you know, his archive book. I'm gonna be flipping through that later, man. Just knowing that I have like an archive piece of history right here, though. But this is what we try to do with the Reminisce show and connect back to our essence, man. That Sankofa tradition, you know. And yo, I'm just happy that we're here, yo.
You're absolutely right. I'm so happy to see it. Shout out to all the people that were there. Busta Rhymes is in the crowd, and Busta Rhymes is such a special special hip hop cat because he's reps literally since 88, 89. And people were talking about Busta Rhymes because Busta Rhymes, he hasn't had a verses. His verses would be one of the most historic things. It cannot be only 20 songs. They need to give that man at least 30 songs, if not 40, if not more than that, because the catalog is so great. But quickly, I want to say Busta Rhymes says that he's been having trouble getting a competitor for his verses. And he says that officially 5 MCs turned him down for it. And he's just he's just trying to still get it. And we all need it. And Swiss Beats yesterday was like, yo, you're kind of like a one of one, you're a god. And it's like the blessing and the curse of being. Everybody knows it's like, you kind of, nobody can kind of win against Busta Rhymes on a certain level. You like,
yo, it's funny because as you were talking, I'm thinking, I'm like, Busta Rhymes would be sick, but I'm like, who could actually like make that worthwhile? You know, like maybe they just got to give him a solo one.
Yo, I mean, they gotta just
Busta Rhymes.
Yeah, they can really, really do something special with it, man. Like they really could. And Busta Rhymes said the three of the people that he wanted were Lil Wayne, Eminem, or Jay-Z. And it's like those are 3 of the people that have catalogs big enough that would go up against Busta Rhymes in a cool way. But on a certain level, on an energy performance level, I think Busta Rhymes is a one of one in hip hop. Yeah. And I thought the only person that I could think, I mean, the hip hop has lots of great performers. I'm not going to say people like lots of powerful MCs, but on a certain level, Busta Rhymes really is the most explosive rapper of all time. And the only person who might have been able to go up against him was KRS-One. As far as power, and like, you know, that's not going to happen. So it's like, I'm like, name anybody, name huge, powerful MCs, like, name them, and like what would it like to be them performance energy wise against Busta Rhymes? It's like, I don't. Snoop Dogg, E40, Fat Joe, name anybody, even like anybody, Dr. Dre, Method Man, RZA, it's like they're great, but like Buster will like kind of explode them.
Yeah, well, either way, I want to see Busta Rhymes, man. He has like way too many classics over the years, you know what I mean? Like just so much. And I was thinking to myself too, like a lot of his songs are like monumental moments in my life. Like when I hear certain songs, you know what I mean? It brings me back to certain eras in my life. I'm just like, yo, like how instrumental he was, you know, like It's a Party, and then Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See, and just, you know what I mean? Like, just like certain songs. Woo-ha! Oh my God, come on.
Oh my God. The Woo-ha remix, shout out with ODB.
Oh, with ODB, that was hard. That was
the greatest collaborations of all time, maybe the greatest. Indeed. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. He's got to have his own thing, maybe a special one of one. But shout out to Busta, shout out to Versus, and it's dope. Yo, I just Meek Mill quickly. Yeah, there's a tiny bit left. Meek Mill said that he's going to retire maybe in like 3 or 4 years, but he said he's going to. Yeah, it was really cool. I actually kind of respect what he said. He's like, I'm going to retire. He's like, I'm not going to stop making music, but I'm going to retire from the industry and touring and doing all that stuff. But he's like, I'm going to just chill with my family and just like still record still. And I was like, that's I'm like, I respect that statement. I really do. And he's like, I'm going to go hard for 3 or 4 more years. And then he's like, I'm just going to pass it on to the next generation. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yo, honestly, like I respect Meek on many levels, just like his history and how he came up, like really from like the gutter, man, and just like been able to like make it big and bounce back from like, you know, certain like, you know, setbacks and this and that. Like, yo, like I respect that. Like that's the type of narrative that we need to see in hip hop, like that evolution. Like you can't be in the streets forever. You know what I mean? Like there comes a point where it's just like, yo, man, like don't you just want to like just like chill and enjoy like what you've created and what you have accumulated, you know, like don't always have to be on the, you know, on the grind and moving forward, man. Like I think like we're so used to that in our culture where it's like there is no moments to just be. Like, you know, it's always we got to be on the grind, got to go, and it's just like, nah, man, we can chill. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where, yeah, man. So I totally respect them, man. Big up to Meek, man, for setting that example, and we need to see more of those kind of images.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. To quickly add on to that, I like had a lot of somebody I didn't really mess with was Logic. But I had a lot of respect. My biggest respectful moment was when he was like, "Yo, I'm retiring to become a father," and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." I was like, "This man had big chart positions, whatever." I'm like, I don't really f with his style at all. He's like a rapper, but I'm like, I respect that, man. It's gonna be. But then, like 6 months later, he comes out of retirement, and I'm like, "Oh man, don't do that!" Like, yo, just like
they get hooked on that fame, man. They're like,
oh,
but like they got to know it's like the street game, man. You got to know when to tap in, tap out, man, and just be out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, like right, the close the chapter on your life, you know, like. At least when Jay-Z actually retired for at least a couple years before he came back. He's like, oh, all right, I still got more to do, but
and he's expanding other businesses too. Like that's what we need to see. Like from a business standpoint, like there's like the culture elements of hip hop, and I don't think MCs don't ever stop being an MC. Like it's either you are or you're not. Either way, you're going to be making music whether you put it out or not. You know what I mean? That's just the way how it is. Like, but I think it's really important to see that. Yeah, like the music is a springboard for other opportunities and other ventures that we can like create and maneuver through spaces that are typically like closed off to us, So I think that's really, really important, and I'm so glad that we're seeing a lot of those examples like Nas and other people who are going off in different ventures, So
you absolutely nailed it, because Kanye might be one of the best. Kanye and 50 Cent are probably the best examples in history. I think I consider 50 Cent the biggest boss hip hop has seen thus far. Like, and I also shout out to Master P. Master P.
Yeah.
But as far as business wise, these guys started as musicians, and then they're actually operating in 10, 15 different industries. They're clothing lines and property and food restaurants, like all that. Liquor companies. Like, yo, word up, okay. And like, yo, as we were saying, just goes back to what we were starting at the beginning. It's like we all got into like hip hop itself was to get us out of Babylon that didn't accept us. So it's like you use hip hop to be like, all right, Babylon, like y'all like it now. Y'all use our stuff in your commercials and your shit, and like your kids love it. So we're just elbowing our way up into these corporate boardrooms. Thank you. So
that's it.
But
we here now, man. We here.
we here. So yeah, man. I guess we'll end off with a shit. I just pulled out.
Okay.
The irony.
Oh, look at that, man. Peace Magazine. We got who's on? Oh, Eminem, and there's a DMX feature on there. Yo, rest in peace. Big up, man. Detroit trash rapper. That's what they called him on a Peace Mag.
This is one of Eminem's super controversial interviews. I remember, like,
okay,
man, I remember. Yo, also, I want to give a shout out to this on the back.
Hey, there we go, man. Snoop Dogg, top dog.
Yeah, but it wasn't this one, but like, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Harris from Peace Magazine. I don't know if people know about the Biggie Smalls interview, one of the most notorious interviews of all time in hip hop.
Talk to me, man. What's up?
Was a Canadian interview where notorious Biggie Smalls talked to Harris.
Okay.
And Harris is like, yo, I'm just gonna name a bunch of random rappers and tell me what you think. So he's just like, Tretch, Redman, blah 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 blah. Just naming rappers from the day. And Biggie's like, oh, they're dope, they're whack, their flows dope, whatever. And then Harris goes E40, and Biggie's like, nah, E40's whack as hell. Screw that. So, like in this Canadian mag, like Biggie had mad trouble when he went to the Bay next time. He had serious beef with E40's crew, and it was from the fucking Canadian hip hop.
Wow.
Very few people know that. So people know about the beef that they had, but they don't talk about that.
Where it came from. That's St. COVID still, and I have to admit, like E40's flow was kind of hard for me to get into.
Oh, like, it's an acquired taste.
It's an acquired taste, like, but now I respect it and I see it. Like I get it, but like at the time, because like my ears were trained to a certain like sound, if you will. So that was kind of like, I was like, okay, but then when I started learning more about him, how epic he is in terms of like creating slang and stuff like that, then I was like, okay, let me give this another shot. And then I started appreciating him as an individual because I was comparing him to like my preference of like what artists I like to listen to. And I'm like, well, in contrast to that, like you're not in that circle, but appreciating him as an individual and getting into his world as opposed to like the reverse. Then I really started appreciating him. You know what I mean? So
oh man, no, that's the real, like, nobody has invented more slang than E40 at all. Shout out to all the other people who, but like probably like all of hip hop combined, or at least the whole coast combined, has not come up with as many words as E40, the one individual. Jeez. And I also quickly got a shout out because he was one of the Sick With It Records is one of the biggest and longest running and most OG indie entrepreneur. They were getting distributed by priority, or they had, like, you know, everyone's talking about Wu-Tang getting the label deal and Puffy getting the label deal. Those dudes were, you know, they did some of that for sure. But people don't talk about in Oakland. E40 also was at like probably before. He had major label distribution, and they've been I was seeing it in the magazines that I got. I've been watching, so I see. That's why I showed up Master P. I quickly want to say, I will always say this, and I had friends who heard me. Master P was so relentless with his ads and his drive and his vision, and I'm like, yo, this guy's music is trash. But it was always, the ads were there. You could see him. They were just, he would never hear otherwise. So I literally said when I was a child, I'll never forget this as a lesson to myself. I was like, this guy is either going to flop into nothing like hundreds of other rappers I've seen, or become a multimillionaire, because his willpower is so strong, and I can see it in these ads. And I literally said that when I was 15 years old. So I'm like, I will never forget the Master P story. I'm like, people don't care about Master P's music. But I'm like, if you fucking give a fuck about black people on planet Earth, you will know about the story of how much property Master P owns in New Orleans. He owns gas stations, food, clothing. He was trying to invest in oil. He bought the Calio. He brought his old projects. He's the landlord of the projects now. So so yeah, like, yo, that's like, yo, I don't even care how whack his music is. Like, he's a hero. So
that's what's up, man.
I'm done for the day. So that's
well, that's you know, well, hey man, we did go for today's, you know, Reminisce show, man. You know, a blessed earth strong, man, to the brother Peter Tosh, man, and you know, his legacy is living on. We're like reaping the benefits, you know, of everything that he advocated for, man. Shout out to all those who are still incarcerated, who've been criminalized, penalized, brutalized because of this magical plant that has been granted to all of us, you know, for me and you, all of us, you know, and now, you know, everybody and their grandmother can, you know, benefit without being criminalized for it, man. But there's still people who are still suffering, and we can't forget that. No, we can't forget that, you know, and it's really important to always have that part of the conversation. Like, we can't talk about cannabis without talking about advocacy and you know, the medicinal aspects. Like, there's a lot of emphasis on like recreation, and as we mentioned before, there's dispensaries everywhere and whatnot, but it's like, it's much more deeper than that, and we don't want to be irresponsible with this as well. So like, I don't advocate for the consumption for minors, people under 25, really, because as we mentioned before, man, our brain is still developing, you know. So, and then also, you know, everything in moderation, you know. So big up to Peter Tosh, big up to the Peter Tosh Foundation that's ran by his children. I'm gonna find my way to connect with them, because Stolen from Africa needs to be like all up in that. They're doing incredible stuff, man, and the legacy still lives on. And yeah, man, I'm just excited, man, for just how the potential and where things can go when we carry the traditions of Sankofa, man, going back to collect what we may have forgotten, you know.
Absolutely, that's what we do, man. And it's so good to do it. Thanks for letting me reminisce on some old stories, man. I'm definitely, this move is digging up some history. I'm finding old magazines, and I got cassettes, and I got VHS tapes and vinyl, and oh my God, I got ticket stubs. I got, like, my stories are starting to come back, so I'm gonna start dropping some more jewels on the show.
That's it, man. And I'm gonna post again in the chat, man, you know, the cannabis theme music playlist. You know what I mean? There's a couple songs in there, man. That just nice vibes and whatnot. So I'm just gonna throw that in there for y'all to check it out. And that's what's up, man. You know what I mean? We're just vibing out. Blessings and respect to everyone who came through on this special edition, where we bring some education, for the misunderstood plants, the ganja, the devil's lettuce, the reefer, grass, the jive,
pot. Shout out to Dr. Dre too. I hope the Detox album drops one day, because that'll be the end. That'll be the end. No, they said that they were gonna try to push it again on him, and
what they did with the Detox album was the Compton album. When the Compton movie came out, that's how they because Dr. Dre, I believe, produced all that. That's just my theory. I feel that the soundtrack for the Compton movie, that was what it was, because that boat has long gone. It's a different energy. The time, it's gone. So whatever. I'm pretty sure there were some archive songs, because I know that there's several artists that have some
there's dozens. There's dozens and dozens of joints. I even know that Drake wrote for Detox.
Right, I remember that.
No, there's Drake probably has 50, 60, 100 songs recorded for Detox, probably 300, but they're all, and I know multiple times he said that, and I know that he dropped the Compton album, and in a certain way he was like, I know people want one more album from me, so he dropped that. But in the last, it's been around his divorce, around the beginning of the year, there was a recording, there was a brand new recording, and people it's been for the super hardcore Dre fanatics, which I am on and off. I love Dre, but I also hate the way he treats women, and I hate what he's doing with his divorce. So it's it's very fucking frustrating and it's problematic. But I'm just saying, I'm in the grapevine, there were people were saying that they're actually digging it up once again, the Detox recording. So I hope there were the last rumor was that there was an Interscope fourth quarter release, and they said the 3 big Interscope releases were going to be Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar, and Eminem. So we'll see if that is true.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for that. You know what I'm saying? Many blessings, man. And man, we out like that, man. Reminisce show, man. Legalized edition, man. Be safe out there. Be wise. You know what I mean? Everything in moderation. And man, go bump some Peter Tosh, man. Check out some of his interviews, man. Hear what the man had to say and what he was advocating for. And let's keep that message in our hearts, man. Reggae is a political statement first and foremost. It's not just a party. You know what I mean? It's a political party, man. But sometimes people forget about the politics.
For real. Wow.
All right, man.
Love and health, peace and blessings.